A 15-year-old boy arrives in Seoul with mud on his shoes and a note from his father he doesn't intend to deliver. The city is too big, the train's too loud, and the job's already taken. The shopkeeper looks him over, skinny, country accent, eyes that won't drop, and hands him a broom. Sweep the floor, carry the sacks, don't touch the till. The boy bows and gets to work. No one in the shop knows that this kid, who sleeps in a corner by the rice sacks and eats when the others are done, will one day put a car with his family name on the roads of 5 continents, pour steel into ships the size of neighborhoods, and help turn a poor, war-scarred peninsula into an industrial power. His name is Chung Ju-yong. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Half a century, on an empty stretch of coastline at Ulsan, cranes the height of cathedrals pivot above a shipyard that did not exist on any map a few years earlier. Sparks rain onto plates of steel that will become the ribs of a tanker. In a building up the road, an assembly line hums while cars roll toward daylight in neat, bright colors. A word is stamped on grille and hull alike: Hyundai, modernity. What began with a broom has become a system. The question is how. The story starts in 1915 in a village that now sits north of a borderline drawn after a civil war. Poverty isn't a mood there, it's the weather. The family is large, the rice is not. The boy's father is strict and practical. The boy is practical and restless. School feels like a luxury that doesn't feed anyone. What feeds people, he learns early, is work, any kind at any hour for anyone willing to pay. He tries to help on the farm, but he can't shake the sense that the world is larger than the horizon. He runs away to the city, is dragged back, runs again, is dragged back again. Each time the distance grows, and with it the certainty that staying is the riskiest choice. In Seoul, he finds a job at a rice shop. The owner dismisses him as a country boy and hands him the worst tasks: haul sacks, scrape floors, mind the shopkeeper's child while the grown-ups count money. The boy doesn't argue, he watches. He learns the shape of demand by listening to footsteps outside the door. He learns that margins live in small habits: a scoop leveled the same way, a ledger written the same afternoon, a supplier paid when promised. When he finally earns trust with the till, he makes the shop more money than it knew it could make. The owner notices, so does the owner's son. Respect follows competence, and competence follows the longest day. The city breaks and remakes him. He works at a repair garage, the kind that smells of oil and hot metal, and he falls in love with how machines admit the truth when you open them. He watches how an engine yields to patience and how a careless hand multiplies costs. He learns to improvise parts and keep promises. In those years, career is poor under occupation, and opportunity is a hole you dig with your hands. He digs. By the mid-1940s, after war detonates certainty and clears a terrible kind of space, he makes a decision that will define the rest of his life. He will stop fixing other people's plans and build his own. He rents a shack, nails up a sign, Hyundai Engineering and Construction, and starts taking jobs no one else wants. Fix a wall, pour a foundation, straighten a roof line ripped by shells. He hires men who need work as badly as he does and asks only that they be on time and honest. When materials don't arrive, he borrows a truck. When a client delays payment, he leans on pride and credit. When competitors smirk, he outlasts them. The rules are simple: show up, finish, move on. Then history hands him a lever. The war ends, the new republic struggles to stand, and foreign troops with deep pockets need roads, barracks, depots. Hyundai bids. The company wins projects one size too big, then grows into them with a stubborn speed that becomes a signature. Cash flow is oxygen, so schedules are sacred. He pays wages on time, even when clients do not. Word spreads that this small firm with a strange name finishes what it starts. What he builds in those years is not only concrete and reputation, it is a way of thinking about scale. If you can pour one slab well, you can pour 100. If you can coordinate 10 men and 2 trucks, you can coordinate 1,000 men and a convoy. He finds foremen who can translate drawings into action and accountants who can translate action into solvency. He trains a generation in the harsh mathematics of deadlines. Leadership in the country changes, and with it the national project. Growth becomes a mission. A president with a soldier's impatience wants factories, ports, and a road that will tie the capital to the southern port like a steel artery. Many say it cannot be done fast. The maps are mountains. The budget is thin. The bid goes out. Hyundai takes it. The Gyeongbu Expressway is more than asphalt. It is a bet on the future of a poor nation. Bulldozers bite earth day and night. Farmers and students and soldiers alike move rock and pour concrete. Reporters come to count reasons it will fail, then run out of headlines. The country watches the kilometers add up like a miracle. When the road opens, travel time collapses and commerce expands. The company that delivered it is no longer a scrappy contractor. It is an institution. Money begins to flow from farther away. The Middle East is building cities in the desert and wants highways, ports and power plants. Korean firms, hungry for foreign currency, bid against European giants. Hyundai wins some of the hardest jobs by promising what others won't. Aggressive timelines, grueling shifts, and management that sleeps in the same heat as the workers. The foreign exchange those contracts bring back becomes fuel for a manufacturing drive at home. This is not philanthropy, it is strategy. Take skills where the pay is high and bring the profits back to where the ambition is higher. Then comes a leap that on paper looks reckless. Hyundai will build ships, supertankers, at a scale the company has never attempted on a shore that is still just sand and wind. The bankers ask where the shipyard is. The founder holds up a poster of one and points out on the sand where it will go. He flies to Europe, to the office of a shipping magnate whose hands have known oars and ledgers alike, and sells not a yard he has, but a yard he will make. The order lands. Financing follows. On the coast at Ulsan, cranes rise before the paint is dry on the buildings that house the men who will run them. Steel arrives, language is learned, and a nation that did not make ships in the morning makes them by the end of the decade. Hyundai Heavy Industries is born not by accident but by audacity, by promising a future and then sweating until it is real. Cars come next, not because the founder is bored, but because he sees the synthesis of everything he has learned: reliability, scale, logistics, and the psychology of the customer who wants dignity and value in the same purchase. In 1967, Hyundai Motor Company is formed. The first cars are born in partnership with foreign firms. A model assembled under license gives workers muscle memory and the plant a heartbeat. But working under another badge can only teach so much. He wants a car of his own. Designers from Italy sketch a compact body that looks like a smile when it's new and an honest tool once it's used. Engineers source powertrains from partners willing to train and trade. The car that emerges is simple, affordable, fixable. The kind of car families can own without having to explain themselves. It carries a name that will become both a reality and a promise: Pony. It is the first series production passenger car designed and built on Korean soil. Soon the badge that seemed exotic abroad becomes a normal sight in alley and highway alike. The company does not stop at the water's edge. Exports begin quietly, then with confidence. Canada says yes before America does. Canada's winters are harsh and its buyers careful. A useful test. The Pony climbs. Then the United States opens, and a young brand learns the hardest lesson in an unforgiving classroom. First impressions compound. Early models sell like candy because they are cheap and cheerful. Then complaints gather about quality and corrosion. The press writes its verdicts. Rivals smirk. Customers walk. This could have been the end. Instead, it becomes a pivot. A generation passes the torch inside the company. The founder's son takes the wheel and demands that quality be the new religion. The warranty becomes a public vow: 10 years, 100,000 miles. So bold it sounds like a dare. Plants are retooled. Suppliers see contracts tied to standards, not friendships. Engineers who know how to save money learn how to spend it where it counts. Steel composition, galvanization, fit, finish, testing that tries to break what a customer never should. Ad agencies are told to speak softly. Factories are told to work loudly. It takes time, then it takes. Reviewers start using the words surprising, then solid, then excellent. The brand that once apologized with price begins to compete with pride. Meanwhile, the group expands sideways and upward. Kia, a rival with its own hard history, joins the family, creating scale and variety that help both companies buy better, learn faster, and share technology across segments. R&D centers become campuses. Designers with world reputations are hired to give the lines a confidence that turns heads at motor shows, not just on spreadsheets. The cars grow into segments nobody thought the brand could touch. Hot hatches that make drivers grin, luxury sedans that whisper, electric models that move like the future without shouting about it. In other halls of the group, a different kind of refinery is built, chips and software. The vehicles become computers with wheels and taste. The factories become robots with people in charge. Investments in batteries, hydrogen fuel cells, and power electronics signal a belief that the next engine will be chemistry, code, and policy. The group stakes out a bet on hydrogen as a complement to batteries, long-haul trucking, steady storage, heavy duty. It is not a hedge so much as a philosophy. Build across possibilities and let engineering decide. All of this rests on a story older than any product line. The founder's conviction that work has a moral shape. He does not own a yacht. He shrugs at photographers. He keeps a routine ugly car in his garage because function is the point. He visits jobs in person, walks the scaffolding, asks workmen by name if they have what they need and why the schedule is slipping by a day. He carries in his mind the shame of unpaid laborers and the pride of a team that hits a date. He knows what it feels like to kneel in a shop and eat last. In 1998, when the country suffers a financial crisis and headlines seem to mock ambition, he does something that sounds like a fable. As a young man fleeing poverty in the north, he once took a cow without asking, his family's only chance at a train fare and a new path. Decades later, a rich man who remembers the debt he cannot pay back quietly sends 1,001 cows north across a border that still bristles with guns, a gesture as much to himself as to anyone watching. The story spreads because it explains him better than any press release. Gratitude is a duty. Promises are not negotiable. The companies he built face their own reckonings over time: labor disputes, safety recalls, political storms, global slowdowns. The response becomes a pattern the founder would recognize. Do not hide, fix what you can, and learn publicly enough that the lesson sticks. If a plant has to close, save as many jobs as possible. If a model has to be recalled, recall it and make next year's better. If a country's rules change, adapt. The world is a market and a teacher. Walk a Hyundai plant today and you can still feel the logic of the rice shop. Order is a kindness, waste is an insult. Trucks arrive just in time, parts flow to hands that know their dance. Inspections catch the error at step 3, so step 20 does not become a lie. Outside, dealers sell with less swagger than rivals, but more clarity. A woman walks in with a budget and her kids, and the salesperson shows her trim levels without contempt, a financing plan without tricks, and a delivery date he can meet. She drives away not exhilarated but relieved, which is its own kind of brand loyalty. Stand again on the Ulsan coast. The wind carries salt and the clang of steel. Behind you stretch 6 kilometers of plant and dock. Before you, a hull slides into water, and a shipyard's cheer rises like a stadium's. To the right, a convoy of new cars waits for a ship that will ferry them to streets the founder never saw, with dashboards he could not imagine, running on energy systems he only intuited. The logo is the same, a stylized handshake between company and customer, a promise that modernity is not a boast, but a duty to make tomorrow less fragile than today. If you rewind to the broom and the rice sacks, you can see every step in between as a refusal to be limited by what a poor country was told to want. Don't just repair, build. Don't just buy parts, make them. Don't just hire, train. Don't just sell cheap, earn trust. Don't just take orders, make markets. The boy who crouched to sweep a floor learned that dignity lives in the details. The man who signed paychecks learned that growth lives in the calendar. The company that bears his word learned that a nation can change its fate when it treats time as capital and reputation as currency. There is no scene in this story where a genie appears, no moment when a banker simply smiles. There are only meetings where people say no, then say yes when the argument is better. Only promises made with an outstretched hand and kept with a concrete pour at dawn. Only ships ordered before the yard exists and yards built before the paint is dry on the office doors. There is a man who is told to go home, who goes anyway, and then builds a road so the next child's trip to the city is a bus ride, not a gamble. Ask a Hyundai engineer what the brand stands for, and she may not mention poetry. She will talk about tolerances, suppliers, cycle times, a warranty policy that keeps her up at night, a crash test she is proud of. Ask a family on delivery day what the brand means, and they may not mention history. They will talk about a monthly payment, a car that starts in winter, a sense that someone considered their life before assembling the dashboard. Somewhere between those answers lives the truth the founder chased. Modernity is not a logo. It is the feeling that the machine will serve you without asking for permission you do not have. One evening, as the shift changes and the parking lot fills with the lopsided ballet of end-of-day traffic, an old man in a plain suit stands where he can see both the shipyard cranes and the factory doors. He looks like any visitor. No one gives him a second glance. He watches a young worker hop on a bus, tired and proud, and smiles. He knows what it costs to build this distance between hunger and security, between hope and habit. He knows how easily it can be lost, and how stubbornly it can be kept. He knows that the boy with the broom was always building something he could not yet name. How did a poor Korean boy create Hyundai? The answer is not romance. It is schedules met, debts honored, mistakes admitted, bets placed when the ground was still mud and the wind had not learned the language of steel. It is 1,000 ordinary days arranged in an extraordinary order. It is the conviction that a country's story is not a sentence but a draft. And it is the proof, written in roads and ships and cars, that a life spent keeping promises can pull a nation forward until the horizon moves.